All right, let's talk speech. Hi folks, I'm the current International Mr. Leather, and I have been releasing a video series giving advice to folks who are looking to compete for IML, for International Mr. Leather, either this year or moving forward. So the scored portions of the International Mr. Leather weekend come down to physique and stage presence, interview, leather look or leather appearance, physique and stage presence again, and speech. So I've already done those other four, now we're at the speech. So the first thing to keep in mind, you have 90 seconds, and it is a strict 90 seconds. The timer starts when you say your first word, and at 91 seconds, the mic cuts off. Now that said, there is a timer on the stage that is visible. So during the speech, if you remember to glance down, you will have an idea of where you're at. And you can talk about whatever you want, but here's some recommendations. When you write your speech, ideally you want to put together some sort of cohesive narrative. You want a definitive starting point, middle, and end. You want to be able to capture your audience's attention at the very start of that speech, and you want to maintain it throughout. And as you're doing that, you want to take that beginning, middle, and end and connect them in a way that makes sense and that is easy to follow. That means you don't want to overload your audience with details and muddle with extra stuff that's not really necessary to the message that you are trying to convey. Now, as far as if you should strictly memorize your speech or learn it extemporaneously, and extemporaneously means you remember most of the speech or you remember the vibe of the speech, but like there's ability to improvise in the middle if you forget bits and that kind of stuff, right? Whether you do one or the other will really depend on you. Where are your strengths? I will say this, if you are someone that needs to memorize the speech exactly, if you over practice, you run the risk of kind of disconnecting from your audience because a lot of the emotion kind of gets numbed from you the more you go over the speech. So that is something that you want to be careful of. For me personally, I typically speak extemporaneously if I write a speech, so I have less of an issue with regards to the over repetition and disconnect from the emotional context of the subject matter that I'm talking about. Now, if you're looking at competing and you are not used to public speaking, you need to fix that. Find opportunities to speak in front of people, community events that at your local community, because if you're competing for IML, you will be a title holder going in, which means you should have some sort of ability to gain a platform to be able to talk in front of people. So get those opportunities in. If you have the ability to tap into a resource like Toastmasters, that might also help. Now, I strongly suggest when you are writing your speech, make sure you write about something that you are strongly connected to, that you have an emotional investment in, because that will make it a whole lot easier to connect with your audience at an emotional level, and that is what you want. I also strongly suggest shying away from quoting other people unless you can really do it intentionally and do it very, very well, sewn within the fabric of your speech. So don't just quote someone because you know that quote is really, really good if you don't provide context around it with why that works within your speech. If you give a really good speech and you want it to be memorable, you want it to be memorable because of what you delivered, not because you were able to deliver what someone else already delivered. As far as body language, you want to make sure that you are standing up straight, have good strong posture. You want to hold the mic with the mic pointed at your chin, not directly at your mouth. Now, the reason for that is because it reduces the chances of you getting those kind of explosive sounds into the mic, so you have that you're not dealing with as much. So I recommend strongly point the mic here. It will pick up your voice. Practice speaking clearly and decisively. Have the confidence in what you are saying. Another thing too is you have 90 seconds. Do not write a 90-second speech because you will get cut off. What I recommend, write a speech that when you do just a regular run through of it, a minute 10, a minute 15 is really pushing it, and here's why. When you are delivering your speech, you will have unintentional trip-ups in various ways. You may get an audience reaction that you need to wait for the audience to calm down for you to be able to continue. You may temporarily forget a word and need to search for it, right? Like, things come up in that moment. So writing a 90-second speech when you have a 90-second time slot that is strictly regulated is a really good way to shoot yourself in the knee. One recommendation that was made to me is when you go up to start your speech, again, the timer doesn't start until you say your first word. So a couple of things to keep in mind. When you grab the mic, give yourself a second, collect your thoughts. Don't belabor it, but give yourself a second, collect your thoughts before you go in. Because again, timer doesn't start until you start speaking. The other thing is when you grab that mic, go ahead and stand in front of the mic stand. And the reason is that mic stand is little and thin and skinny, and it is incredibly easy to hide behind it. You would be surprised. So that small act of standing in front of the mic stand is a really good way to show more confidence in what you are saying. The other thing to remember too is the only one who knows what you're going to say is you. So do not get attached to the minutia of every single word that you wrote when you wrote your speech. Because if you have to skip over something, modify something in the moment, and allow yourself that flexibility, no one else will know. That's okay. You have control over that narrative. Like, I remember when I was giving my speech, at one point I was a good way through it. I glanced down to see how much time I have left on the timer. I had 10 seconds. And I knew, it's like, I've got 15 to 20 seconds of speech left. I did not have a way to get the entire speech out in that moment. So I decided to cut right to the ending, because that speech was written with the ending in mind. And I knew that if I didn't hit that ending note, the entire speech would fall apart. So I ended up skipping a good 2, maybe even 3 lines to fast forward to the end in that 10 seconds so that I could get there. So again, you're the only one that knows what is coming out of your mouth. So don't worry if you get something wrong. Keep going. Improvise a little bit if you have to, but just recognize that keep that flow going, because no one else is going to know. Giving a speech and public speaking can be a very challenging and intimidating thing for a lot of people, and giving a speech in this context especially so. So I would just want to remind you, if you are standing on that stage, that means that you have every right to be there. Believe in yourself, and you've got this. I promise. You will make it through. And reach out to people in your corner, in your community. Ask them if you can say your speech for them. It will feel awkward. It will feel weird. Embrace it and do it anyway. Trust me, it pays off. You got this.